Parry Talks. Welcome back. This might be the last episode for the year. Actually, who knows? This will be the last artist episode for the year. We might do some. If you're watching this, we might have a bit of an album of the year, EP of the year discussion next week.
Cool.
Top secret stuff. But yeah. So I think it's very special to have an artist that I think has almost not so much has taken over the world in 2020, but acts as a nice vignette into what I think 2020 has been for Australian music, but Sydney music in particular, where diversity is at the forefront and we're hearing from voices and genres that haven't been properly well done in Australia or Sydney for a very long time. So I think it's fucking awesome to have Liyah Knight on today. So how are you?
I am good. First of all, the genres have been done well, but I think that people are now paying attention because there are so many amazing artists that have come before and are still coming that are sick.
Exactly. I feel like the industry has been like, what the hell?
Why are we doing this?
the industry's like, there's musicians that exist outside of the inner west. It's like, what?
Sansuzi represent.
Sansuzi. Even like, yeah, in like South Sydney, just like different voices talking about different stories is so important. So I feel like it's been so rare in Australia, and like just what hip hop and R&B is in Australia. Anyway, I could talk about this for hours.
For days.
But it's also a special one because it's a bit of a celebration as well, because I finished exams this week and I'm so on myself for that.
Happy days. Happy
so
days.
So what a way
you.
to celebrate. I just want to start here, and obviously we are in this wonderful, beautiful Lord Gladstone Hotel. I guess you could call it beautiful.
It is beautiful. It definitely has a nice communal sentiment.
It has a charm to it.
It does.
And you are a part of the Gladdy family, I'd say.
That's really nice.
How did you come to know this place? How did you find your sort of feet in the Gladdy? What do you think of the place?
I love this place. How did I find my feet here? I think I was coming to events here a fair bit. Initially it was, like home base and stuff. And, gigs upstairs at the Good Space and art shows. And I was just here a fair bit. And then just kind of became friends with people, and Jono as well. We found out that our grandparents were from my grandmother was from the same town in Italy.
There you go.
As his grandparents, Trieste. So that was pretty cool. And then when the EP came around, when it came to photos and visuals and stuff, we did a fair bit up here, which was really nice. And then had the EP launch after it actually came out, but the EP thing here, performance, I really like it here. It's really homely.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just very homely. I don't know if that's a bad thing for a pub to be homely for you, but yeah, I really like it here.
Everything in moderation, I say. And
yes. So 11 o'clock at the Gladdy is moderation.
It is though. It's like, we're not drinking. Like, who knows? Actually,
this is water.
It's not. This is straight vodka.
This is a large glass of vodka. This is a jug of vodka.
But yeah, let's just jump straight in, because we're already here.
Yeah.
We had the showcase. There's been just a lot of noise around the EP, and it's sort of just like stamped the mark. It's like Liyah Knight is here, and there has been such a big positive response. And I think everyone that sort of is in a circle, I'm like, have you heard of this girl Liyah Knight? It's like, yes, we have. So it's like, I think it's just fucking awesome, and I'm in love with the project. How have you handled the response to Nesting? Has it been overwhelming? Has it been like, yeah, that's true, like, you're right, I'm great?
Who would say? No, I don't say that. I don't say, yes, you're right, I'm great. I was overwhelmed, I think. I've just kind of kept it moving and just kept working on music, kept working at the Motorboat Club, Shout out Motorboat Club. It's like an RSL. It has nothing to do with motorboating. boating, motorboat. It's anyway. So yeah, sorry, I'm really awkward. But yeah, so still the same. Everything's kind of the same. I'm just really grateful that I get to. I have the opportunity to share it with everyone, and I think that when we were piecing everything together, you know, sonically and then later on visually, it was just really important to me that it was a story. And when I hear that people after the show, people are like, it's like starting to glue together, I think we get it, and I'm like, that's really nice, you know, because I guess with the project it's really nice to be able to share that moment with people. I mean, I had it when the project was finished, like ages ago, but now I get to have it again with people, so it's cool.
Exactly. So were you sitting on the EP for a while before you released it?
During isolation, we probably did the last song, and the last song was Yikes. I was just messing around on keys at home. I was supposed to have a session with Cyrus in person, but Cy's mum was like, you probably shouldn't be having people over, which is fair enough.
Yeah,
Cyrus's mum is, she knows what she's talking about. So we just had...
pause right here for 1 second. Listen to your mothers.
Yes.
If they say...
Listen to your mums.
You need a jacket, you need a jacket.
Take the jacket.
Sorry,
otherwise, they're going to give you shit when you say you're cold.
Sorry.
Shout out everyone's mums. Yeah, so we just had a Zoom session, and it obviously, granted, it took a little longer because, you know, we're sending things back and forth, but once it was done, we're like, oh my gosh, we really just did that over Zoom. He doesn't even live that far away from me, so it was such an odd experience. So once that was done, it was just kind of gluing all of the tracks together and making sure that they flow. Like, I worked closely with Mo, who executive produced the EP. So yeah, just to make sure that all the sounds flowed in, because there was so many hands in it, like Cyrus, Corky Buchek, you know, Will Roman played the guitar on mine and Better Unsaid, Robert played the bass on Better Unsaid and mine. So yeah, just to have that flow of all those sounds, because they're all kind of somebody used like this, and then Yikes is I decide to rap. So yeah, it's kind of been done for a hot minute, I guess.
I think, we said Yikes. I love Yikes. And when you perform Yikes live, everyone goes off. The kids love Yikes.
The kids love the Yikes.
I think it's super interesting that you wrote that one last. It's got like that like braggadocious and like you leave the last word off as well. It's like, that's fire. Was it, and like, this is a shit question, I know, but like, was because of 2020, was it interesting, or was it weird, was there second guessing putting the EP out this year, or was it always just like, these people need to hear this, I don't give a shit?
It wasn't even the people need to hear it. It was like, fuck this, we haven't worked on this so long to let 2020 stop the plan. So I guess we just kind of pretended like it wasn't a pandemic, and we were like, yep, cool, still go ahead as is. And I think that very much the vibe with Nesting, and pretty much me as a person, is I am at home a fair bit, so it's not like it's unfitting for me to release a project in a time when everyone's at home, because that's essentially, you know, what I'd be doing anyway. So it kind of fit in well. And I think that as well, during, you know, 2020, there was a lot of people being like, you know, the uncertainty, and there's uncertainty any given day. So that was probably something, obviously not uncertainty of a pandemic, but, you know, like, you just never know. Every morning that you wake up, and that sounds really grim, but, you know, that it's just, there's always going to be uncertainty. So you still want to just like flow the way that you flow regardless of that, and just kind of make it work for you.
And one thing I think I've learned definitely throughout this year, there's like a sense of gratefulness that I did not have last year. I was living like,
reckless. No,
not reckless in the sense of like, who needs brain cells, am I right? Not like that.
Yeah, right.
But
vodka.
Yeah, literally. But there was just like a sense of like everything's gonna work out.
Yeah.
And like everything's gonna be G. Like we just chill out and the world will work itself out. But there's like a sense where it's like, oh, I can do this. I can go see my grandparents, or I can come to the pub and support a venue that I enjoy supporting, or like I can buy a t-shirt just because, you know, but now I'm really grateful for those things.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably my big learning.
Definitely.
Other than bike riding is the go.
Bike riding, right.
That's another big one.
Yeah.
Other than those two.
I'm yet to get around to exercise again, but I'll try it soon enough. Maybe that's a 2021 thing. But, yeah, definitely. And I think that there was never a moment where we were like, yeah, sweet, everything's going to be all right. It was like, there's just no expectations. And when you don't have expectations, every good thing that comes around, you're like, oh, that's pretty nice. So I guess there wasn't any expectations in nesting. So when people liked it and the feedback was good, we were like, sweet, that's nice, you know?
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's a nice way to live.
Exactly. Beautiful. So the first time I heard of Liyah Knight, sitting down, I think I was in the library. Sometimes I work from the library because I'm crazy like that. And Cass from Acclaim, big shout outs. He's just like, hey
Shout
bro,
out, Cass.
I've got some tracks. Do you want to review them? And he sent me like this list and he's like, choose 3. And I went from the top and I'm like, Better Unsaid was there. And I was like, hang on. I messaged straight away. I'm like, who is this? What's going on here? And he's like, bruh. So I just like went, had the big stalk, did the stalk, you know. And I was like, I'm in. So I think, and my big thing was like, is this from Sydney? Is this from Australia? Or was like, is it international? Because I had no idea and I was super surprised. And as a journalist, I always think, where does this sit for me in my listening? And I sort of put it, I don't know, it's like, it had that like, obviously that scissor vibe that I think straight away. But then like all the percussive elements are so like neo soul, so Erykah Badu, the guitar, it's like so sick. So I was just wondering, as like a nice intro, I think, like, and not to just pitch yourself into, you know, saying I like this artist, I like that artist, but where do you think sonically Liyah Knight sits just generally, if someone that's never heard you before, you know, just what to expect?
No expectations, remember?
Huge.
Depends on which song, because I guess, yeah.
That's the brilliance in the question.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on which song, because if you listen to Tipsy, it'll probably sit in the like indie pop realm, but then if you listen to Better Unsaid, it's definitely something that has some of those like grooves, those, I call them the Rob grooves, because he's just like so crazy on bass. Sometimes he'll just play something in studio, I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do with that because it's just too hectic. But yeah, I don't know.
I think that's it. I think that's an answer in itself. You can't categorize nesting or Liyah Knight at all, which I think is special. And like a boxing, and we always make this joke where like, especially on a lot of magazines, a lot of editorials, they love, for fans of. It's like, I get that. Like, I get where that, like, and it's a flattering compliment, but at the same time, it's like, that's not what it is.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with that. I think that I understand how categorizing it makes it easier for a listener or the person that's, you know, consuming something to put it where it needs to be in a box somewhere, but at the same time, it like kind of makes it tricky for an artist when you are put into that place, because you're like, wait, now it becomes like a comparison thing, and you're like, how I don't sound like that, or I don't, maybe the next song's not going to sound like that, you know, and then you're going to have to say I sound like Boy George or whoever the fuck it's going to be. I like Boy George's music. No, my mum does. He's cool though. But anyway,
We like Boy George on Parry.
Yeah, I don't know why it was the first name to pop into my head.
He's a good friend of the show.
Oh, there you go. Shout out, Boy George. No, yeah, so I guess it's kind of cool to just continue to have no expectations and make whatever the flip we feel like.
Yeah, and a lot of music now, and especially with your music, it is so personal. And I think that it's going to be coherent regardless because it's coming from your brain and your voice and your story. So like it doesn't have to be boxed into a genre for track 1 to make sense with track 5.
Yeah.
It's just, it's coming from you and it's coming from an honest place, which I think makes it coherent no matter what sound it is. It's like, this is Liyah Knight. That's why it makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's like that's kind of, with a lot of the music, well, with all of my music, it's very much starts with the songwriting aspect. And then the sounds kind of follow based on what the words are about. You know, like if I'm feeling angsty, I might make a song that's like, it reminds me of like my teen years listening to whatever the heck I listened to.
Yeah.
You know, or if I'm feeling like lovey-dovey, then there's like a whole R&B playlist that I listen to when I feel like that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's fun.
It's a vibe. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, most recently, I saw you on the live stage, and obviously you supported Steve. This is my thing. Is it Steven?
It's Steven.
Okay, thank you.
Steven, I'm clarifying for the fans of Parry Talks. You're welcome.
There's been a lot of debate about that name as well in our circles, because also fantastic music and
incredible.
And like, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but like, no, this is going to sound horrible, but I'm always super surprised when new artists get on stage and kill it straight away, and they have like that confidence on stage, because it's so easy for a new artist to just like hide behind the curtain before they start and like just go up there, sort of do their thing and just like waltz off. But you were just at the front of it. You knew you were killing it, I think. And you just had like a very ferocious, like, you weren't afraid to put yourself in the middle, in the spotlight, which I think is such a brave and such an awesome thing for an artist to do, especially to leave an imprint on people. So congratulations on that.
I'm glad it's conveyed that way, because I was probably shitting bricks, to be honest. So
it's all about perception.
Yes.
How was it?
Smoke and mirrors.
Literally. How was it taking the EP to the live stage? Is it interesting singing these like super personal, intimate songs to a room full of people?
Yeah.
That almost hearing them for, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I can't imagine it's easy, is why I'm asking.
I mean, I think I've gotten really comfortable with sharing personal stuff. So I'm kind of an open book. Could be dangerous, but that's why, like, when I'm on stage and stuff, I like to take myself... Well, I take myself seriously, of course, but that whole thing of hiding, you know... There's mine. Like, I literally said, before I performed the song, I was like, hey, guys... this is about my dad issues. And it's like, just doing that is like, hey, I'm being vulnerable with you. I hope that you feel the same way, where like you allow yourself to find something in this song to connect with, or, you know, so it's kind of like a relationship that you can have with people when they hear your music. If they know that you're being honest with them, then hopefully they can kind of put their walls down and connect with you in a different, like a, you know, a stronger way. So yeah, and then same with all the other tracks. I guess it's just a matter of being honest, and I don't know. I came from a very open household, so I know what it's like to not share and just like bottle shit up. So I'm very, it'd be what it do, just put it out there.
Big time. I'm the same though, in the sense that I'm an oversharer.
Oh,
which is
absolutely.
probably different things. I don't want to just straight away just throw you into that, but I'm definitely a massive oversharer. Like, people know me for half an hour and I start spilling shit and they're like, whoa, this is too
I didn't
much
ask for this.
Yeah.
That's pretty much my EP. Like, people are like, I didn't ask for this. I'm like, well, here you go.
Welcome to my trauma.
Yes.
No,
yeah.
I think it's something to be said where I think so many young people are scared to like just put it all on show, and then what they do put on, like, social media's done the opposite thing of what people sort of expected, because people are like, oh, look at this platform where you can share whatever you want, and they're sharing the 1% of their life that isn't like, so it's just reinforced like by 100 that, you know, if you're not the best in the world, or you're not showing off the best feelings or emotions or perception of yourself in the world, then you're not doing it right.
No, I'm a certified dickhead. If you look at my social media and my stories, I just have a good time, you know, and I think it's important that we change that narrative of, you know, social media being this place that we just regurgitate the highlights of your life, and maybe there's like more creative direction into, you know, whatever music related things you put up, so that there's like a second of thought in it, you know. So even with all of that, that's been like a big thing for me, is just like being heavily invested in putting that forward. Yeah, and isolation sent everybody kooky, so you know, you just kind of start sharing a little bit more of yourself outside of pretty pictures and la la la. So yeah,
big time.
Yeah.
Ask a personal question, a Leah question.
Yeah, sure.
How have you found your like social media usage, your screen time through 2020? Has it skyrocketed for you, or is it something that you've made a conscious thing, being like, I don't really want to be on my phone as much anymore? Because I know I've gone 10 times the negative way.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I just didn't know what to do, and like it just became my everything, which is sort of shit.
I've probably made a conscious effort not to look at how much time I'm spending, because ignorance is bliss. But yeah, I probably spent a bit more time on the internet, but at the same time I've probably connected with a lot of people through social media that I didn't before. Like the way that I connect with people was probably changed a bit. Before it was just kind of like, here's a nice photo of me, you know, I think my teeth look nice. It's like now it's just kind of a bit more whatever's going on at the moment kind of thing.
Big time.
But yeah, I think I could probably strip it back a little bit. Also, socials is a big part of promoting music that might be coming out, or, you know, stuff like that. So I'm aware of that. At first I had the shits about it. I was like, fuck, I want to post, just listen to the fucking song. But, you know, there's an artsy way of getting around that, and like making it not just watch this space coming soon, you know, like
eyes peeled, brother.
Those googly eyes.
Oh, man.
Or like the chart thing, you know, like watch this space. It's like, no, people have their own spaces to watch. If you got something worth seeing, they'll come and see it.
Literally.
So, that was one thing I was not. There was a lot of that during 2020. It's like, coming soon, watch this space. Blah, 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 blah. It's like
working on something huge,
ginormous. So yeah, I was like, oh, a month out or whatever, that's when we'll start doing the thing.
I feel that. Yeah. Wow. Sorry, I just absorbing, because social media is a whole thing, and like, it's like, oh, someone will be like, shout out this person on your story for featuring your song in the.
Yeah, it's
that's
a lot.
Thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
It's just so demanding. Like, there's no break anymore. You can't just like let the music, like, you can let the music obviously speak for itself, and what all the best artists do, and you've definitely done that as well. But it's just like, if it just feels like there's so much more to it, instead of just being like, I'm just going to be a great songwriter. Yeah. And I'm going to let that do the talking. It's like, oh, I've got to.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be a great songwriter. Yeah. Bloody press. No, I think you have to be a great songwriter regardless. But I was going to say something. It's obviously not going to be that great. Think.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's Friday morning.
It is Friday morning. Well, it's not going to be Friday morning when this comes out.
True. Well, maybe I'll put it... No, we won't go out next Friday morning. What's your... Alright, this is a funny question.
Alright.
What's your favourite day of the week? I know people have favourite days of the week. I know I have favourite days of the week. Unless it's a shocking question.
Given my work roster at the moment, I'm going to say Wednesday.
Wednesdays are good. The hump day.
Yeah.
Because if you beat Wednesday, you're through.
Yeah. And I have Wednesday off. And yeah, it's pretty nice.
That was shocking.
I'm sorry, it's not that exciting.
No, that was a shocking question.
No, that was quite impressive. I'd say the weekend, but I work on the weekend. So Wednesday is my weekend. And
beautiful.
Yeah, I do sweet fuck all. It's great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about nesting. So obviously Bedon said is so just like, oh, when the guitar comes in at the end as well. I hold you down. Oh,
take it away. Live performance by Parry Talks.
But my favorite track,
Yes.
Somebody You.
Oh.
And like, I don't know why, and I remember when the EP came out, I saw some mutual shared somebody else like, oh, you know what, I trust their taste, like on the story, so I went straight to it. And it just like, I don't even know why, I don't directly to relate to the lyrics or anything, but just hit like a ton of bricks. I was like, bro, like, it's like Friday morning, like, jeez Louise.
Chill
like,
out.
No, but in the best way possible, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Everything happens on a Friday morning, apparently.
Oh, brother.
It's a Friday morning.
And I think it's so nice having it, because it does strip, there's like a lot more space to it, and it's so nice the EP closing with that. But it just talks through the creation of Somebody You, like not literally what does that song mean to you, but like how was it therapeutically writing that song? How did it come about? To talk about it.
Cyrus and... Okay, that was another Zoom-ish session. It was Cyrus. This is when I could go to his house. I went Cyrus, and then we Zoomed Ned, and that was my first time meeting Ned Houston. Shout out, Cy and Ned. And we were just kind of sitting around, and I was like, I'm going to make a mushy love song, and something that's just kind of soothing and like, I don't know, it's just something that reflects that like moment where you're like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. The rare moment.
The cupcake phase, we call it. I should have called it a cupcake song. Anyway, so we started writing. We were just like outside, and then inside, outside, and then it just kind of came about. We recorded it, and it was just like the epitome of like this,
literally.
but like a sonic, and and it was so different to anything I'd made, and like at that point, and it was just really nice and really wholesome.
Yeah, it is, because I recorded it and then put that like full narrative post, not even story, and I put the beady eye emojis.
Oh, not the beady eyes.
And that's the epitome of that song. It's just like,
oh, yeah.
I love it. I think it just makes so much sense at the back end of the EP as well, which is probably something you thought about a lot too. Yeah,
because I think that was... Oh, wait, so I said Yikes was the last song, but I think Somebody You actually was the last song. And it was... So we've gone through nesting phase, starting off being everything that other people want you to be, which is better unsaid. Tipsy being the opposite of that, because you're like, fuck the world. That was a bit extreme. Anyway, and then Mine, you're kind of like doing that whole introspection and self-work, which we had to do over isolation. Yeah. And then we come out the back end with Energy. So I guess after you've done all that, like a bit of
thinking.
A bit of thinking, then you're like, woo, life, self-worth and love and shit. Yikes is from setting those standards. And then Somebody You was like the perfect close for me, because it was like, you've done all of this, and then you get to the point where you can genuinely be with someone and it's pure and honest, and it's you've done your self-work. So like when you're in that relationship, it's not all that other stuff, like it just works.
You have to love yourself to love someone else.
Yeah.
It comes back to that.
Snaps for that one. Yep, some snaps. So yeah, that was really bloody wholesome. And
it's so, I don't know, maybe I just stan that song.
Stan. That's good. That
Am I the first Liyah Knight stan? Or do you have some stans that have beat me to it?
My mum's a pretty big stan.
Oh yeah, true. Okay, that's okay.
So my mum and my cousin. But I think you're the first. I don't think my mum says stan, so I guess you'd be the first stan if that's the case. I think she says... No, she doesn't say fan. She just says, I'm proud of you.
Aww.
It's a bit cute.
The family validation, there's nothing like it.
Oh man, when she heard my first demos, that was funny. She's quite honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I was making my own beats at the beginning, and I played them, she's like, oh, that's different. That's different. So yeah, we've come a long way from different.
It's super rare to have supporting families when a child wants to chase something creatively.
Yeah.
So I think that's super special and super important.
Yeah, my mum's an artsy person as well, but I think when I first, because I'm still trying to, you know, do this music thing, but when I first told her that I was doing music, I was like 6 months into a TAFE production course, and the way I told her was, hey, I've got my showcase for this course that you didn't know I was doing. Would you like to come along and see me sing? So she came along, she's like, wait, so you're singing now? I was like, yep. But I think one thing that she knows about me, and like one thing I've made pretty clear in the past, is if I want to do something, I'm going to do it and I'm going to give it my all. So yeah, fucking this is it, you know? So I think when you do something with conviction, there's less fear associated with it, because you're like,
Definitely.
YOLO.
I like that TAFE story, and like I want to, and like obviously I think because I've got you somewhat early on, I can ask the questions and I can claim to be like one of the first to be the questions, like, tell me your story. And like,
what's the story?
I hate when like, and especially from like my inner editor is like, don't ask her first experience with music. Don't ask how she got her name.
Oh, how did I get
no, don't answer that question. That's a banned question.
Okay, perfect.
But
I
do want to know though, because we're sort of pretty early on in the piece. I think it's super interesting to allow you to tell your full story as well. Who is Liyah Knight? You know, where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? What was your first sort of like hit with music where it's like, this is sort of cool? Like I'm talking early on, where it's like I sort of like music.
Right. Wait, can you slow down? You asked like 5 questions. Let's start with the first one. Who is Liyah Knight?
As in like, just, you know, where are you from? What area do you rep?
What area do I rep? I was born in, I was first like few years of my life was in Marrickville, and then we moved out to Sans Souci when I was sometime in primary school. I feel like childhood is just one big blur of numbers. But so Liyah Knight is the daughter of Alita and Martin. Shout out. And I'm an only child. No, I'm not an only child. I have 5 siblings on my dad's side. One is older. He added me on Facebook one time. I don't really know him. And then I've got 4 younger siblings who are really cute. And then so I've been living with my mom, and so what has happened in my life? So I played basketball, moved to college when I was 18.
Oh my goodness.
I played basketball over there for a couple of years. That was interesting.
Alright, pause there. America. What was a big culture shock going to America, do you think, compared to Sydney for you? Just things that were just like, what? Why do you do that like that?
First of all, we were in the South, so that's like a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But culture shock. It's so hard to pinpoint.
It was just everything.
Everything was very different. I know it was a lot of it was like situational as well. Like it was, because obviously I was playing sports, so seeing the value that they place on athletes and stuff, and the turnaround of athletes and all that kind of stuff. Music was sick. Like that was a big thing. Like listening to bounce music in New Orleans, and listening to a lot. That's probably when I first started getting into. I started listening to rap probably in college, because before that I was just listening to like old indie music and stuff at home, and then R&B. My mom just listens to 80s funk, and so over there it was interesting. Freshman year, dramatic pause. I don't know how much I should share.
No, you don't have to share as much. I think it's super interesting though, like where this like hip hop and stuff has so much cultural origin that so many people don't understand. Yeah,
so that was quite interesting to me, because you go over there and I'm surrounded by teammates that have come from environments that I will never understand, you know. There's like, it's just so different, you know. One time we were on the bus coming back from a tournament, and then one of my teammates gets a call, and like she just starts bawling eyes out, and she's like, oh, my brother got shot. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I catch my school bus, and it's just like, you know, so it's just like such a different environment. And like she would tell me stories about like how, you know, gang initiations start when she was like 12 years old, she saw someone get killed, and I'm like, it's just totally different world. So it was very, and you see how those kind of environments shape people, and like the impact it has on people's mental health. And like I get goosebumps talking about it, because it's just so, it was a lot, and it just put a lot of things into perspective in terms of, I'm not saying that Australia is lucky and doesn't have environments like that, but I guess in America those environments they're everywhere, you know. Like in Baton Rouge, where I was going to school, you know, one street would be houses of like all the boosters and stuff, these giant houses. You go to the next street and it's just you know, Section 8, like totally different. And then bringing in the racial factor to that was just, you know, it's a lot to consume. And then when you come home and you go to these parties and you see that hip-hop music and that culture take on a totally different meaning, where it's just like, you know, initially when I got back I was quite sensitive about it, where, you know, if someone said the N-word, or if they just talk to me in a black accent for some ungodly reason, like black accent's not even a thing, first of all. But yeah, I would get tense about it, because I'm like, what are you doing? You know, it's just like, it's so far from what we're trying to emulate. Like Australia has its own culture, Australia has its own thing. We don't need to, because if you want to take on all the glamorous side that you see, then you need to be aware of that whole other side of that, you know. Otherwise it's just really opportunistic. And so that was kind of a lot for me to process.
But I assume you did a lot of learning though, and probably like if you take anyone out of their home at 18 and ship them to the other side of the world, no matter what circumstance, they're going to do a lot of learning. But especially in that circumstance as well, it was probably a big growth time for you, I'd assume. It
was probably the best and worst chapter of my life, to be honest. It was it was a lot. It was like just before I'd moved, there was like maybe like a year or something before I moved, my grandmother had passed away, and like she was like my best friend, you know. And then I went over, and she passed away from overshare. Like she was an alcoholic. So when I went overseas, and I had a close friend of mine who was also an alcoholic, and it was like I felt like the need to fix, you know, because I was like, oh my God, I have control this time. I can totally fix people. It doesn't work that way. And it was that I learned a lot about like how accountability, and how, you know, we have to be accountable for our own grief and like our own things that we go through, and it's okay to reach out for help, but it's, you know, it's just as important to, you know, take that step. You know, you can't it's so hard, especially, you know, when you're in environments that you're not encouraged to take those steps and to move forward and stuff. So yeah, it was definitely a big learning curve in terms of accountability and like mental health. So yeah, when I came back, there was just like a totally new, because I feel like in Australia with, you know, our Indigenous people, there's not enough attention on that, you know. And it's sad that like I honestly feel like coming back, I definitely had like, I was like, I need to be more aware of this. Like, just because it's not in my face in my community around me doesn't mean that I shouldn't, like, you know.
Learn about education.
Yeah. So that was definitely another thing, because I think it's dangerous to be like, oh, well, Australia's not America, we don't have any problems. It's like, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
And well, that's probably all I want to speak about that, because it's like not my place, and I don't think I know enough yet. I'm still learning. So,
but the acknowledgement that we need to learn more about what's happening in our backyard, and I think the glorification of hip hop in Australia is such a it's so true where it's like so many people want the party songs, but they don't want anything conscious. They don't want any like introspection or reflection in a lot of the hip hop we consume in Australia.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to ignore that stuff because we like 808s, you know? That's what we like. We don't want, you know, the conscious side of it. And I think especially now with the Indigenous space in Australian hip hop, where so many like incredible honest stories are coming from.
Kobe D, Tasman Keith, keep it going. Yeah, there's just like so many, and it's just so amazing to see. And I love the fact that there's, you know, so much gumption coming out. You know, it always has, but I'm just so glad that it's being heard.
Yeah,
and I'm so glad that I get to listen to it. You know, but it's definitely like a huge learning thing, and it's like it's a shift, but it's going to take time. And it's the same thing with female artists. Actually, no, it's not the same thing, but just similarly in the world of there is more to be said. Like it's not just sex songs and love songs and stuff. Like there's so much more depth to women in the music world, other than like singing songs that make guys be like, oh wow. You know,
where female artists aren't just there to flatter
or be an accessory to a male rapper, or you know, like this, because obviously the scene's already dominated by men, so it's like we're not just accessories. Like we have stories, there's depth, there's so much to be said.
Especially, and I think that those stories are getting told in the right way, because obviously there are incredible teams around these artists that actually understand and actually care for that, where so often, especially in like major labels and stuff, their interests are their pockets, and it shows by their teams, like who they hire in their teams and stuff. And like
I don't know anything about this,
and that's fine. You don't. This is my opinion. This is Parry's opinion.
Direct yourself.
Very different. No, but I think in just terms of like, then because of the diversity now with the artist sphere, hopefully that reflects as well in the diversity of people, just through like visibility, through education, through, you know, like you don't have to have a mustache and have lived in the inner west to get a job in the music industry because you see your favorite rapper 1-4 doing their thing. It's like, oh, I want to somehow be involved in that, like not even just from a vocalist perspective or a rapper's perspective. It's like it shows that everyone. Like people can get involved that aren't traditionally what like the music industry looks like. So I think there's a lot of positive change happening, hopefully. And we have some sick institutions in Sydney as well, with like FBI and Radio Skid Row and stuff like that. All right, that was like
that was a huge tangent.
No, that's not a tangent. That's what
I know.
Parry Talks is about.
Parry Talks is straight to the point,
and
cut
I think
through the BS.
Literally, because like, and not to talk myself up, but like, what editorial are you going to be able to have a conversation like that at, and like it be a part of the actual conversation?
You still haven't asked me who inspires me, and that's like the first question you're supposed to ask, Parry.
How'd you get your name? No, don't answer it. Rule number 1.
Leah. Or Liyah, whatever you prefer.
No, it's Leah.
Just
I'm standing up for you. Alright, let's lighten up a bit. Basketball.
Yeah, that was...
No, it's fine. We're going to go back deep, but like for 1 second. Are you a fan of basketball? See, I know nothing about basketball.
Oh, what?
I know, because I'm a massive sports fan globally. Like, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I can't have strong opinions on basketball. I don't have any authority to have strong opinions on basketball.
Neither do I, to be honest.
But you have more than I, so I have to ask this question. Everyone always talks about Michael Jordan versus LeBron as the GOAT. Who's the GOAT?
I honestly don't know enough about basketball. I feel like that period of my life is like a blackout, and all that I'm left with is a hot jump shot that is... hard to remove from muscle memory. So everything else is just, I don't know.
What about the music? Was the music a blur? Or do you still feel like some of the music that you obviously discovered during that time still sticks with you?
I've still got that.
What were some of the records early on in that sort of like discovery phase that like stand out now, where it's like, oh, I can't, like the first time I heard that, I was like, oh, that's sick.
Migos.
No.
Kehlani, SZA, Young Dolph at one point. Kevin Gates, but that's like that's an area thing as well, because like obviously Baton Rouge, everyone's like Kevin Gates. Yeah. So there was this artist called Kyle that I really liked in college as well. It was just soaking it all in, soaking it up. I think I went to a G-Eazy concert at one point. I don't know. It just happened, but that was everyone else was going, so you know. Pressure. No shade on G-Eazy. He's cool. Cool. Yeah.
It's so good. But I was like, G-Eazy, jeez. I'm like, why did I do this interview? No, I'm taking the piss. But then obviously with college and you graduated from uni, doing your thing.
Graduated. No, I'm a college dropout.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's me. Yeah.
So when did you first start, and you sort of spoke about that TAFE experience where it's like, I want to, well, if you're doing production at TAFE, you've probably thought about it before, but before that, when were you like, oh, this music thing could sort of be a thing, or like it's something I want to indulge in, something I want to look more into? When was that sort of moment? When did that come into your life?
Probably in college was the first time like I got on that garage band, and started just putting together like chords that I'd Googled, and I didn't sing over it. I got there was this player that was, what is it, not when you're in a team, but like, anyways, one of the basketball players, she sang, so I was like, do you want to sing this poem that I wrote over this awful beat that I'd made? And she was like, I guess she probably felt uncomfortable. She's like, well, I don't want to say no to this girl. So she ended up singing it. It was really nice. It was called Home. And so that was like the first time. And and then when I came home, I started getting singing lessons, which didn't last very long because those things are expensive. But after that, I just kind of chipped away at it. I still, like, in terms of singing, I think there's still a long way to go in terms of I'm comfortable with writing. I hope one day I'll get as comfortable with my voice out loud as I am with it on a piece of paper. So that's probably been the journey thus far in terms of just like learning, and I started going back to singing lessons and just figuring that out, because I read a lot of poetry and kind of studied all of that kind of stuff in my own time. So I guess like any other skill, you need to learn, and that's what has been going on.
And it's like what you said as well, with songwriting first, and which I think is the most important tool for an artist, like, on two reasons. One, if you get a nice publishing deal and you're a good songwriter, come on. Number two, I can say that because I have so many friends in publishing that will be listening to this.
Hello, Parry friends.
And two, it's such important. It's such important.
It's such important.
It's so important to have the songwriting structural underground in any song. Like, you can get a nice glitzy beat, you can get a good top line. Yeah. But what makes music somewhat timeless, and what makes songs have replay value, is that like strong undercurrent of like quality songwriting, which I think is so important. So I think that's interesting, where it's like you came from that first, and then the music was almost second, even though you started producing first, and then there's just so much to it.
Yeah, and like it was so much fun because I co-wrote, the songs I did with Cyrus. Like, he's a writer as well, so it was amazing to be able to, because it was always such a personal experience for me. So to be able to do it with someone else, and he'd be like, maybe this word, and I'll be like, oh wow, that fits so much better. And like to be able to bounce ideas off one another, that was really sick too. And it just opened the doors in terms of working with people, and sometimes being like, oh, maybe I'll just write the song and someone else can sing it. It's just, I like words. They're cool.
I like words that fit. I like words with a certain amount of syllables.
Yeah, like sometimes I'll hear a song and I'm like, no, I didn't need that syllable, but or maybe I needed more. Yeah, I like them. Words are cool.
Back to nesting.
Back to nesting.
Now that we're back there anyway. How was it? And was it tough initially, coming to a different songwriter and being like, here are some intimate ideas I have, but I think you might say no just because of your personality, how I'm gauging you. Was it difficult to be like, hey, here are some interesting ideas, some intimate ideas I've got for songs, I've still got my heart on the line here, what do you think of them? Was that difficult? Was that like overcoming that, that collaborative sort of barrier for a lot of people, I think is really hard? Or was it all G for you?
Yeah, nah, it was all G. Like, with Mine and Better Unsaid, that was the first time meeting the Corky Boys. And I'd met Will previously, but I hadn't met Rob. And we were in the session and they were jamming and stuff. And then I just wrote along to it. And then I jumped up and I just shared.
You just killed it.
I just shared it. I was like, well, and then later on I was like, yep, so that song was about this, that song was about that. And then we got to, play around with the beat so that it fit a bit better in terms of, like Better Unsaid, the bridge needs to be like build up because that's the part, the part. So, yeah. And then with Psy, like, I guess it's when you're comfortable with someone, and I think when you're writing with someone, you kind of have to be comfortable to get something good out of it. So, I was just, I think for Tipsy was our first session, and I was like, I think maybe the night before, or a couple nights before, there was a situation, and I was like, so this is what's happening in my life, Cyrus. And then you find common ground, and then you write about it. But definitely, like, a big part of that is just, I've written. I remember one time I wrote a diss track. It was a rap song, and then I wrote it because I knew the person who it was about was going to be at the session. So I wrote it, and and it's just like, sometimes you just need to do it, and there's no boundaries. You just need to be honest all the time, every time.
Big time. And like
that was just petty, but
pettiness is a big part of that.
Sometimes, yes. But yeah, so there's not too many boundaries when it comes to what there's a couple, and I'm still working on those. Like, there's some things that I'll write at home and record at home where I'm like, I don't know how I would have done that in the studio, but very few.
That's so fucking awesome.
Woo!
Good stuff.
Thanks.
53 minutes in.
Holy but surely.
This is when we start asking the fun questions, but there's one serious question before I start asking fun questions.
What are the influences?
Where'd you get your name? No, it's like, you can answer this in any way you want, but I just want to know how Liyah Knight measures success, or how do you think you'll measure success going forward? It can be like by impact, by ticket sales, by how you want to impact someone listening to your music. Like, what's the effect you want to have on people? How do you measure that success for you, do you think?
I feel like I'm just measuring it with myself, if that makes sense. So like, what I make moving forward is not necessarily compared to the past, but just like, again, with that whole honesty thing, that's success to me. If I'm not butchering my words and I'm saying what's on my chest, then that's success, because I know that if I don't know, I guess that's, for me, that feels like, as long as I'm being honest and authentic, that's success, if I'm staying true to myself. All that other stuff, this might be a stretch, but I feel like when you're true to yourself, that speaks to other people. Yeah. So whatever that is will happen based off the success of how close you are with yourself.
I feel that, definitely. And I
don't know if that sounded really wanky, but
no, I think some artists probably don't think about that enough, and in terms of just like, how close can I have artists me to real life me? Yeah. And I think that's super interesting, that like the closer they are together, because I know some artists would be like, we need these things as far apart as we can, and that works for them because just how their brains work. So I think that's super interesting from you.
I think that as well, success would be, because you have the moment. I always say, like, any song or like any feeling that's in a song is usually, a feeling that you're stuck in, or a feeling that you don't want to let go of. Yeah. And if I can shorten the space, like, success for me is like being able to shorten the space between you know, how you're feeling and when you write it.
Yeah.
And like, because sometimes you write a song and then afterwards you're like, oh my God, that's what that was about. Or like, oh crap, like there's some kind of, like, you learn something afterwards. But if I can like learn at the same time, that'd be great. So I don't have to look back in hindsight and be like, oh, you know. So I guess maybe even shortening the time it takes me to learn from the thing. So that I guess like the conflict and resolution can happen in the same song as opposed to like, we
need to stretch it out though. We need them streams.
That's alright. We've got plenty of bloody feelings to get through. Don't you worry. So
beautiful. That sort of wraps up the formal part.
The formal part.
This is the fun part.
All right.
And like this is the most hotly contested part of any interview that we do on Parry Talks. So we always ask, I say we like
it's just you, Parry.
Have I already made that joke to you?
No.
Alright, good. I make it to everybody, so I'm glad you heard it first.
Yeah, love it.
We have this thing. What's your favorite takeaway? But like mainstream takeaway, so like Macca's, KFC, Hungry Jack's. What's the GOAT? What's the number one where it's like,
I just had chicken fingers for breakfast from Woolies.
Oh, that's up there as well.
That's kind of takeaway?
Yeah, that is. Did you get frozen chicken tenders and then?
No, they were just the little cardboard boxes.
In the brown boxes.
$3 for a box of chicken tenders.
They're hard.
It's actually rude not to. So yeah, those are pretty up there with my go-to. Yeah, look, we need to address this whole breakfast, lunch, dinner thing because I feel like I had fruit salad for dinner and I've had chicken tenders for breakfast.
All right.
Is it a social construct or is there like actual reasons why we need that?
I think there is. I'm no nutritionist, but I think there is a nutritional argument for why we eat the sort of foods we do eat at breakfast. But like I'm the guy where it's like I wake up in the morning straight away. I can't finish a piece of toast. Like I hate that. Like it has to be like yogurt, like something like that with a bit of heat,
yogurt.
like a bit of.
Yogurt is the weirdest textured. Ugh.
It's just like smooth. It's
you
like
could
thick water.
Drink it with I don't even like milk, but you could drink it with a straw.
Okay, I understand.
I don't want any foods that I can drink with a straw. Then I'll have a drink instead of a food that I can drink with a straw.
Man, I gotta teach you.
You probably had one of those. You had those Go-Gurts as a kid, didn't you? You totally did those chews.
In high school, man. They're so good.
Gross, and then you see people like rolling it to get the last drop of bloody thick milk. Disgusting.
Man, you know what the worst
I'm very
thing is
passionate about my.
The thing about yogurt is, like when you there's something already opened, and then you like a box of yogurt already opened, and you reopen it, and like you have to mix it up because like there's different textures, like. And then also another opportunity, instead of it being like a mainstream sort of like takeaway spot, what's your go-to spot? What's your favorite spot for eating out? You know, somewhere independent, hopefully.
Little Lagos.
Where's that?
And more.
Shout outs to Little.
Cheers to Little Lagos.
Done. That was everyone's sort of like, oh, I've got like these 5 options. Like I like that place. I like that. You know.
That's it. I didn't eat meat for 3 months this year because I watched Okja. Never again. Beautiful movie, but it really fucked me. So I didn't eat meat for 3 months, and then I go to Little Lagos with my friend, and I folded. I had the best agusi. Oh, it was worth it. And ever since then, I haven't looked back. I had chicken fingers for breakfast. So, yeah. So Okja, really sad movie, but not sad enough to turn down.
That's when you know.
Yeah.
And then the final question, which is often the hardest question I ask on Parry Talks.
Oh.
You have to, like, neck nominate someone else to come on. Who do you think needs their story told on Parry Talks? Who do you think I should have on that I haven't had on already, in your opinion?
I reckon the Cookie Boys, Tom and Peter, for sure. They're hilarious. And they've got a funny story. They've got lots of funny stories.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Simple.
Yeah.
You're efficient. Everyone's sort of
straight
like,
to it.
Done.
Yeah.
1 hour exactly.
Holy bajoli. That's a solid amount of time.
Did it feel like that?
No.
It flies, brother.
Sweet.
Parry Talks, thanks so much for listening. And I do this for everyone, if you catch me at a Liyah Knight show in the future, which you will, because I'll be there, in Sydney, and you say, bro, watch that interview you did with Liyah. I'll buy you a drink. It's on me.
Noted.
Thanks for listening. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
Awesome.